Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
The Mortgage Voice, Saturday afternoons at 2 on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas. Online at kshp.com.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? It is Tuesday, and so glad you could join us. We're, 5 days from Christmas? Holy smokes, it's coming around the corner, and then we got New Year's Eve, and we're going to have a fun show lined up for you today, man. We got some great guests today, and we're streaming everywhere. By the way, check out my YouTube page, PTL Vegas, on YouTube, the Facebook fan page, PTL Vegas, up there, my personal Twitter page, which is Pushing Limits LV, and please subscribe to my YouTube page. We get new subscribers every day. I appreciate that. And that's what we want. So check out the YouTube page, PTL Vegas, as well. Coming up in hour number 2, I haven't had this guy in studio in a while. Of course, he's the star from the hit reality TV show Tanked. And I heard a rumor that Tanked is going to be starting back up again. The awesome Brett Raymer is going to be joining us in studio, hour number 2. A lot to get to with him, not just about some of his new businesses like his restaurant, some other things that he has in the works, but we always get into some politics with Brett, too. So I know that's going to be a lot of fun coming up in hour number 2. But right now, we got so much to talk to with my man, Thomas Moskal, the former DA here at Clark County and, of course, former prosecutor himself. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you, my friend. How are you? Thomas, are you there? Do we have Thomas? If we have the audio yet, we're going to check that, ladies and gentlemen. This is live radio. This happens from time to time. Thomas, are you there? We will reconnect with Thomas. Yes, there you are.
All right, there we are.
We got you now. All right, there we go. Looking good in your new studio, Mr. Moskal. How's it going?
Pretty good.
I'm glad that we have the audio working, because where would I be without Thomas with all these topics? I need Thomas, and I need his law skills, I guess you could say, and his background, because we got a lot to get to.
Did something happen recently?
A lot. A lot's been going on, in the world of news, politics, and law. I want to start with this, and I want to start locally, because you certainly have had your hand in dealing with death sentences and the death penalty in general, and should you go that far with specific cases. I'm going to ask you this first. When you were the DA here, did you try anybody for the death penalty?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? Okay, so this is rare.
They're rare cases, and they're usually handled by the murder team. I did prosecute a few murders. It has to get approved by the DA first, and then. Are you getting an echo?
I don't hear one personally. There might be one on the stream. I can't tell whether there's an echo or not. You getting an echo? If you're getting an echo, we could try to work that out and see why that's happening.
No, well, I'll just say this: that the DA has to approve it first, so not every murder gets prosecuted for death. It has to meet certain standards. And then once it gets prosecuted for death, a lot of those cases end up in pleas, because, I say this all the time to people who are anti-death penalty. I go, the death penalty rarely actually gets carried out to execution, right? It's just, that's super rare. It's rare for somebody to get prosecuted under it, and then it's super rare for it to get carried out all the way, because really what it is it's leverage. There's a lot of people, I think a lot of people in society could agree that there are crimes, and then there's certain individuals who should go away for life without parole. They should never get out of prison, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't get those people to plead guilty and enter a guilty plea unless you have some leverage, which means there has to be something stiffer than life without parole. And a lot of those death penalty cases do end up in pleas to life, or maybe they have a life sentence with parole eligibility after 25 years. And it just takes a lot to convict somebody on those cases. And those kind of cases, the appeals go on for years and years and years and years, decades. Sometimes they get overturned. You can't retry the case 20 years later because of stale evidence. So, no, I never prosecuted a guy for death. I did prosecute some guys trying to go for the life sentence, but it's just a rare thing. Those defendants hardly ever go to trial.
And my opinion is I have always been for the death penalty, but my frustrations are with what you just talked about, is that a guy could be on death row for 40 or 50 years, and that costs a lot of money, and it clogs up the courts. That I am not for. I believe if you are convicted of the death penalty, yes, you're allowed to have an appeal. After that appeal, if you lose that appeal, it needs to be done within a year or two. I mean, it's just absurd. Yes, I'm for the death penalty, but the way our justice system works, it's absurd. But the reason why I'm talking to you, Thomas, as you know, about the death penalty is because Steve Sisolak, is put in this thing for commuting all Nevada death sentences. And now the Washoe County District Attorney's Office has filed an emergency petition against what Steve Sisolak just tried to do a few days ago. What are your thoughts on this?
What, his last move as governor? He's trying to commute all the death sentences. Well, it just shows where politically where he leans on the death penalty. And look, I understand why people want to abolish the death penalty. I understand it. I'm not in complete disagreement with what their position is. But yeah, from a prosecutor's perspective, like I said, the death penalty, you kind of need it in order to have that leverage. Now, he's trying to commute people that were already sentenced to death, correct?
Correct.
So, he's trying to take that off of the table. So, in your opinion, that would save the community resources because their death penalty would be off the table and maybe less appeals.
Well, what's your opinion on that? Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with the governor just coming in and commuting a bunch of death penalties on his way out of office. But that's, Steve Sisolak represented a complete opposite side of the spectrum from Joe Lombardo. Yeah. He was voted out of office. I don't think he would have done that prior to the election. I don't think he would have done that had he won the election. But he is obviously anti-death penalty. And there's a lot of people who feel very strongly about it.
There's a lot of Republicans even that feel that way.
Well, there's a lot of judges. There's a lot of lawyers. There's prosecutors that feel that way. Right. The last death penalty case that I followed here in Vegas was, I can't remember the guy's name, but look, he was sentenced to death. It was a super heinous crime. The jury, which is rare, unanimously voted to execute this guy. He gets sentenced to death, and he's in front of Judge Jennifer Tagliati, who's now a federal judge. And everybody started stepping in to appeal these things. The ACLU came in, all these different organizations, lawyers from all over the country, because there's a big anti-death penalty movement. So there's a lot of money and resources legally behind anybody who gets sentenced to the death penalty. And this guy stands up in court. Every hearing, I would be in her courtroom, and he would stand up. He'd go, "Judge, please stop these appeals. I don't want these lawyers to appeal for me. I don't want this litigation. I just want my sentence imposed, please." And she would just say, "No, we have to let the lawyers do what they're doing. They need to do these challenges." And hearing after hearing after hearing, finally, the guy just hung himself in CCDC, killed himself, committed suicide. So, even that's how much this litigation is going to go forward, that even in the face of a defendant who is very intelligent, who is cognizant, and is openly telling the court in a public forum, "I don't want any appeals," he can't even get the penalty imposed on himself. So that's the state of the death penalty in Nevada right now. I don't know what's going on in the rest of the country, different states.
Right.
But man, I can't remember the last time we executed somebody here in Nevada, actually executed them.
I think of the case, and this is a different state, of course, in Florida, in Parkland, right? The Parkland shooter. And this animal who killed all those innocent people, I think it was somewhere around 17 or 18 people, mostly teenagers and some adults as well. And he basically said, "I want to do whatever the families want, whatever they want." And now his own attorneys tried to get life in prison, which is what he got without parole. But I'm thinking to myself, Thomas, can you think of any case recently that the death penalty should be put, when you look at this case in general, where he set out and he killed all those innocent kids in that school, and yet he doesn't even get the death penalty. Why even have the death penalty on the books if you're not going to enforce it, particularly in a case like that? And I understand it's a different state, but I mean, you kill all those innocent people. Why even have it on the books if you're not going to implement it?
Well, look, every time they go into a death penalty assessment, what you're looking at are aggravators and mitigators. So there's all these aggravating factors, which would be things like your prior criminal history, the nature and violence of the offense that you committed, your propensity to violence, right? Because what we're really looking at is this person cannot exist in society anymore. Not only can we not house him in a prison, but this person actually deserves to have his life taken from him. And for that to happen, basically the prosecutors need to make an assessment and make a determination that he's irredeemable. And so there's got to be a lot of past aggravators there. If it's just your first offense and you don't have that kind of history, you're probably not going to get approved for the death penalty. And then on the other side, the flip side of that is the mitigators, which are things that weigh in your favor. And look, a lot of people who commit these things have mental health issues. That's something we're going to consider as prosecutors. They have horrible upbringings that led to those mental health issues. If somebody had just the worst abusive childhood, which kind of formed him into this person who became this violent person, we're going to look at that before we say, okay, let's just end this guy's life. So it's kind of a perfect storm where it has to be one of the most heinous crimes you've seen. It's somebody who doesn't have all these mitigating factors in their background that you're going to look at for why they ended up doing what they did. And they had the aggravators in their background. So it becomes a very, very small subset. The issue is that the prosecutors have discretion. Prosecutorial discretion is everything. Prosecutorial discretion to charge, to prosecute, to make a plea deal, and ultimately to try and go after that death penalty at trial. Right?
I think of Robert Tellis, and I know you would probably say, no, probably doesn't deserve the death penalty, doesn't have really any serious priors. But I look at, and I respect that, but I look at a case like that, right, Thomas, and I say to myself, okay, here's a guy who was, you can say obviously crazy for what he did, but I'm not sure there's any mental illness there. He's just a crazy person that decided to kill an innocent journalist, right? This was premeditated. It was a heinous, heinous murder, and death penalty won't be on the table here. I know that. We've talked about this case, ad nauseum. We've talked about it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if Wolfson and them have actually had the death penalty committee meeting yet. They usually have that within about 60 to 120 days. They all get together and decide. But I think they were considering it. But you're right. You kind of hit the nail on the head. He doesn't have this background of aggravators, right? The aggravating circumstance is the circumstances of this case itself. The premeditation, the way he carried it out. But I'll tell you, we've had some really, really wild premeditated murders that have gone to trial. Mm-hmm. And the death penalty was not sought against those people. So it kind of cuts both ways with Robert Tellis. He doesn't have the background. The guy was pretty much an upstanding citizen other than, a domestic violence case and some car accidents that he was in. And that's nothing that's out of the normal here. When we're looking at somebody for aggravators for the death penalty, I mean, we're talking about somebody who might have, killed people before, actually gone to prison for murder, has multiple murders in his background. So the Robert Tellis case, I just get the feeling, Brian, like you're very pro, we need to have this death penalty. We need to enforce it. We need to execute people who commit crimes like that. And I get that too. I
just don't like, and I'm sure you agree with me on this, I don't like how people can be on death row for decades and decades and decades and nothing is done. What's the worst thing about this, Thomas? And I think you'll agree. The victims' families that have to know that, okay, well, this guy who killed my loved one or girl who killed my loved one, he got the death penalty, but yet 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, hasn't been executed yet. And you got to deal with the courts. I mean, it's such an injustice, not only to the victim or victims, but to the families of the victims.
Well, I would say to the families this, and there's a reason why guys plead guilty to life without parole when they're facing the death penalty. There's a reason, especially if they know what it's like in the system.
Right.
When you're on death row, you're segregated from the population. You're not getting your prison yard time. You're not getting any socialization. And this is going to go on the entire time you're there. So a lot of guys, especially if they've been in the system, if the death penalty is on the table, they're going to go life without because then they get to enjoy at least whatever social environment prison has to offer them, as opposed to being on death row. Now, the problem with, enforcing, look, a regular crime, you could commit a burglary and you will have a direct appeal if it goes to trial. That has to be done within a year. It usually takes a year or two before it's actually heard by the court. And then you can appeal. After that, you're going to have a post-conviction proceeding. This isn't a regular case. And the post-conviction proceeding, like we looked at with the Margaret Rudin trial, the Black Widow of Las Vegas, that recently got overturned 20 years after the fact, you're looking at, did the defense attorney do what they were supposed to do? And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of really shoddy defense work that's going on. And the Margaret Rudin trial was a perfect example of it. But there has to be a mechanism to go, did this defense attorney even work on the case? Did he do what he was supposed to do? And then once that post-conviction thing gets heard, you're allowed to review that. A federal court is allowed to review what the state Supreme Court did.
Yeah.
And if the federal court reviews it, that's a federal district court. You go up to the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals. You can go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And so the idea behind the death penalty is there's a lot of people who feel it's the ultimate price to pay. And if one innocent person gets executed like that, that's too much. And so all the safeguards beyond just a simple burglary case are going to kick in on a death penalty case. You're going to have every safeguard.
I mean, listen, 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have what we have now and you know this better than anybody when it comes to DNA evidence. I don't want anybody put to death, even if I think that, there's a 1% chance maybe they didn't do it. No, it has to be foolproof, DNA evidence, so on and so forth. I don't want any chance of an innocent person being executed, which probably has happened in this country, and it's horrible. I don't want that to happen. At the same time, I also don't want it to be in the courts for 20, 30, 40 years either. Yes, I'm for the death penalty, but I don't like our justice system, and I also don't like it when people say, well that's
let me tell you this. Someone goes away for life without parole after a trial. It's the same thing. It's going to be litigated for years. I mean, look, Margaret Rudin was litigating for 20 years, and she didn't even get life without parole.
Yeah,
I mean, she got 20 to life. She had already served her 20 years, had paroled out. And so really what the death penalty is like, let's extract a guilty plea. See, that's why prosecutors and victims' families need to understand this. Prosecutors know this, defense attorneys know this, and just that guilty plea is worth its weight in gold, because what they're doing is they are waiving all of these appeals and post-conviction proceedings. Pretty much. There's a limited thing that they can do, but man, that is worth its weight in gold. And for prosecutors to extract guilty pleas from people, which is how 99% of all these cases get resolved, the system would crumble if we had to try 100% of these cases. If we even had to try 10% of them, they would crumble.
Sure. If you're just joining us, I'm sorry, go ahead, Thomas.
So no, you have to get the guilty plea, and that's what the death penalty is beautiful for. And the only guys who actually get the death penalty here, sentenced to it, and then it starts to get imposed, are guys who don't accept that guilty plea. There is not a case that I'm going to just go out on a limb. I'm going to say this. If I could go down to the win at the sports book, I'd bet on it right now. There is not a case where a person got sentenced to death that he was not offered a guilty plea agreement to life without parole, or 25 to life, or 35 to life, or whatever it was. And he turned it down and went to trial.
Yeah, that's interesting. If you're just joining us, he is Thomas Moskal, former DA here, Clark County, former prosecutor. I want to switch topics quickly here, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this case because I know we've talked about this case before, so you're somewhat familiar with it. And that's the case of this Las Vegas referee who was brutally attacked following a basketball game outside of Doolittle. I got an update yesterday. Yeah, Perry, correct. Yes, sir. I got an update yesterday on the case, and I wanted to get your legal expertise on this. So here's my understanding of what happened. The woman that assaulted the official first, the wife, she slapped her keys at Perry, and that's what started everything. She got a misdemeanor, okay? This is very interesting because the 14-year-old son is no longer able to participate now, even though he's a juvenile, in any high school sports. So that means that, he could never get a college scholarship. That's basically what he got. He's a juvenile. The father had two very serious charges. And one of them was, of course, assault with bodily harm. I think somebody had told me it was
on a protected person.
Correct. I think that was 1 to 5 years. Now, the other charge is something new, which is attacking a referee. I don't know exact verbiage of the law, but if you attack a sports official, you can get tacked on another 1 to 5 years. So they basically offered this guy a plea, and they said, forget about the official charge, the second charge, just plead guilty to the assault, and we will give you 1 to 5 years. He probably would have gotten 1 year in jail. His attorney and him said, no, we're going to go to trial. So now the judge has put that basketball official attacking a sports official charge back on the table of trial. He could be facing up to 10 years now. That's what I heard. That's the latest of what happened. The wife gets a kind of a slap on the wrist misdemeanor. She kind of started everything, slapped her keys at this guy. The son can no longer play in sports, can't attend high school here, which is pretty bad for the 14-year-old. And the father could be facing up to 10 years in jail. What are your thoughts on that?
So where did you get this update from?
I actually got this update from a personal friend of Perry. Who spoke with him a few weeks ago, and I know this is 100% accurate.
Well, his understanding of what's going on in the court system, in my experience, the people who are the victims and the lay people who aren't lawyers and aren't there in the trenches, their understanding of what's going on is sometimes different than what actually is going on in the case. So it doesn't surprise me. Look, the son was going in through the juvenile system. They're going to slap him on the wrist. I mean, there's nothing in the juvenile system that has any teeth. They're not like that about prosecuting these kids. He was never going to get certified up for something like this. To get certified up, I mean, you basically have to kill somebody, commit so many armed robberies. It's insane. The wife with the keys on the misdemeanor plea doesn't surprise me. The fact that they are going for the felony guilty plea on him, I think that shows that prosecutors are taking the case seriously. Look, they probably offered him a guilty plea to probation because this is a probation case. I'll be honest with you. To get a guy to agree to prison, if that's the guilty plea they offered, then I could see why a defense attorney would say no, set it for trial. Because as a defense attorney now, when I was a prosecutor and a defense attorney, we're always seeing it like what's going to happen at sentencing, right? And so that depends what judge you're in front of, and it depends what are the facts of the case, what's your criminal history. And prosecutors sometimes overstep because they try to extract more in a guilty plea agreement, and they don't have the leverage to do it against an experienced defense attorney. Goes in front of this judge on these facts. You want me to agree that he's going to prison for 2 years? No, we'll go to trial. I'll have all of my appeals that we were just talking about, all these appeals, because these trials get reversed all the time. And trial, we won't go to trial for another 2 or 3 years if I delay this case through litigation, which I need to start challenging things. And then at the end, this judge, he's getting probation, right? This judge, maximum she would give him is 1 year. And so when you're looking at that, you go, no, we reject the guilty plea. So it's all a negotiation here. Just because he rejected this offer doesn't mean there won't be another offer made.
Understood. But Thomas, the fact that this got national news, it got national attention, the fact that we know that this has been an issue for a while and it's only getting worse with the way some officials are being treated by parents, by coaches, the fact that this man almost died. And I just learned it's incredible that he's officiating again. But this man went through a lot of trauma, as you know, and the injuries were very, very serious. With all that combined in this, do you still feel that he won't get any jail time? Because I feel in my heart, and again, without any legal expertise like what you have, that he's going to get something. He's going to get some sort of jail sentence. Am I wrong in assuming that?
Well, yeah, that'd be an assumption. You'd be wrong in assuming that he's going to get. Look, look, prosecutorial discretion is everything. So it depends which individual prosecutor does he have on this case. Is that prosecutor so offended by this that prosecutor is going to put their time and energy into this case? Because the DA's office, they are drowning in cases. They're drowning. They file 70 to 80,000 cases a year. And I'm going to tell you that's the same amount as Phoenix files. Yeah. And we have about 1/3 of the resources to go after those cases. And so the prosecutor's the last line of defense. If that prosecutor says, no, I'm going all the way with this bad boy, well, there you go. And what that takes, and why I was trying to reach out to Perry early in this case is, I was very offended by it. If it was on my desk, I would definitely be sitting in a special pile of cases. But let me tell you, Brian, that special pile of cases, that pile is huge. It is huge. And just because it got national attention, I'm going to tell you, man, when I was a prosecutor, so many of my cases got national attention, got local attention. The news media was following it in the courtrooms. But at the same time, we know you have to move these cases. You have to extract some kind of guilty plea. And so maybe you file some litigation. Maybe you make some statements in court to make the defendant feel like, okay, this prosecutor is going to go hard. But as a defense attorney, I know that, okay, if this prosecutor's on the case and he's going hard right now, Well, these prosecutors, just like me, I mean, I was on cases for 5 years. I ended up leaving the office for personal reasons, right? So I'm off the case. Now the next guy comes on the case. He's not as personally invested in this case. Maybe he wants to make a deal, you know? So there's all these moving parts to it, but the basic essence of it is, unless the prosecutor's putting special time and interest into this case, then it will get pled down. Now, there's some hardcore prosecutors over there. There's some prosecutors who like to move cases too. We need them both in the office. Neither one is better than the other. You need the hardcore ones to go hard, and you need ones that can just move cases, because the system would crumble otherwise. But there's a lot of judges up there who are going to look at this case and maybe not want to send this guy to prison. Why? If he doesn't have prior prison experience, and I'm going to tell you this, we all know this in the criminal justice system, the things you see in the movies about how it is in prison, how you have to roll with a set, you got to get into a gang, you got to follow the gang rules, how people are going to get beat up, there's fights in the yard, there's gang warfare. It is true, okay? And we know that. And so you have a lot of judges on the bench, especially a lot of former public defenders are on the bench now who really know that's true. Prosecutors don't understand as much as defense attorneys do, because we talk to our clients while they're in prison. But these public defenders know, they're like, if I send this guy into prison for 2 years, man, this is not like, oh, you're going to sit in a cell. Like, you're really sentencing him to something that it's a pretty crazy environment, man. And so the movies, Hollywood, you might think that it's fake, but prison is not a pleasant place to send anybody. And you're going to house a guy who got into a fight with a referee, and I understand it was violent. You're going to put him in there. And these guys are like repeat gang offenders. These are violent murderers that are on life. They're housing people who got DUI injury cases next to a guy who's got life for multiple murders. He's in the same cell, you know? So
well,
it's pretty crazy up there.
Obviously, I'm not a fan of that, of what you're speaking
Well,
of.
you're not, but that's why I say, like, you might say, how could a judge cut this guy a break? But the judges know the reality. Am I really sending this guy over to that?
I understand, Thomas, but then there's a part of me that says, well, maybe you shouldn't drive drunk and hurt somebody or kill somebody. And then there's the part of me that says, well, maybe you shouldn't be punching a basketball official after a game, and that's the consequence for your actions. I get it. Some cases are obviously much different than others, defendants and those that are in jail.
If I'm the judge in this case, and the prosecutor, first, if the prosecutor doesn't deal it and they go to trial, I'm sending this guy to prison. I'll tell you that right now. I have to. It's just too offensive to me.
He's got to go to jail, right? He's got to. I mean, maybe it's a year, but he's got to. And if he gets a year or two on good behavior, right, he can get how much of that sentence reduced? When could he get out?
Well, it would depend on what felony he could get, right? So if he gets a Class C felony, which is the 1 to 5, you get good time off the front end on that too. The front end is like the bottom number to parole eligibility, and the prisons are chopping sentences down. It's insane. If I told you the reality of it, you'd probably be offended at how much the prison is chopping sentences down with their own discretion.
Wouldn't surprise me.
That's outside of the judge's purview. It's outside of what the prosecutors can do. The prisons can just do it.
Well, for me and my background of being a former basketball official, and I still officiate once in a while, I'm doing it for 20 years. This case is obviously very emotional and offensive to me. I've spoken to his friends. I spoke to one of his friends at the Raiders game over the weekend. This is getting worse and worse. And I'm not even talking the legalities. I'm just saying in general, parents are getting worse. Coaches are getting worse. Referees are having to deal with more BS than they've ever had to deal with in their lives. It's always getting worse. This man has to be set as an example. You cannot do this. And
well, it's not only setting him as an example. I mean, look, the legislature is cognizant of what you're saying. That's why they passed a law protecting referees more.
Right.
Because they're cognizant of it. But the legislature is just one cog in the machine. Now you have to have the enforcement of it through the prosecution. But the big thing is what's going on in the civil side of things, right? I was really gung-ho about this case, and I thought, okay, you don't just make an example of the defendant. You got to make an example of what's going on with the facilities that are running these tournaments and these basketball games, providing proper security. Right. And that happens on the civil side. And I'm a little worried that Perry's civil case is probably not proceeding the way it needs to be. Because look, just like a prosecutor needs to hold the line and say, we're going all the way with this thing, and we're going to extract something really nice on the plea, the civil plaintiff attorney needs to go, we're holding the line, we're going all the way. We're not going to take some money up front because we want changes made. And that's where the real change can get made on the civil side. And I'm not sure what's going on with that side of things.
Well, I think Perry deserves that as well. Financial settlement as well. We'll have to monitor this case.
Well, let me ask you this. He's back on his feet. He's reffing games.
My understanding from what I heard from his friend, who's a very good source, is that, yes, he is back doing games, which I am shocked, by the way.
Well, that's great. That's great for him. But I'm going to tell you, that's not so great for the sentencing against the defendant. You know,
that's true.
It's always nice to have, as a prosecutor, like when your victim shows up 3 years after the fact of sentencing, they're kind of fully healed and have their life back together.
Sure.
It's different than having them show up in a wheelchair with a leg severed.
Thomas, it's like somebody that gets into a car accident and they claim they have all these injuries, and then a couple days later they're seen on the golf course. Now, Perry is not that guy. Knowing Perry, because I've worked with him and I know Perry, he's just a class act guy. He's honest. He obviously feels physically good enough to get back out there. I would imagine mentally and physically, even though he said he doesn't want to talk about it, I've been told. And he's not crazy about a trial because he doesn't want to have to relive it again. But you're right. I get what you're saying, but I also commend Perry. And that's just the kind of person that he is. Assaulted, almost died after officiating a game, assaulted by a coach. And he's back on the floor again. I think that's a testament to him and how tough he is and how much basketball and basketball officiating means to him. But we'll have to monitor this trial. It's coming up soon. And we'll definitely get your legal expertise on it as we approach the trial. He is Thomas Moskal, the former DA here in Clark County, former prosecutor. And we will be joined by Thomas again in the next segment. He's going to stick around because I want to talk on the national front with Thomas coming up next about the January 6th hearing and the fact that Donald Trump could be facing actual criminal charges when it comes to January 6th and those around him. Will the FBI do that? I'll get Thomas's opinions on that and much, much more. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey, everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site X-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client. So please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
A great time! Your entertainment destination, the South Point, invites you to experience the ultimate great time under one roof. Bowling, dancing, a live show, a movie, delicious dining, and one of South Point's 11 restaurants. So much to see, so much to do. You won't know where to start first. This week, make it a South Point week and discover for yourself why the South Point is your entertainment destination for a great time.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. So glad that you can join us. We got reality TV star Hank Brett Raymer joining us in studio next hour. It's always fun when Brett comes in studio. We got Thomas Moskal on with us. He is the former DA here at Clark County, former prosecutor. Get to him in a moment. I want to talk to you guys about my favorite gaming bar in town. Of course, it's Jackson's Bar and Grill. Sundays, you earn 200 points and get $50 in free play, some of the December promotions. Also, Mondays, you earn 200 points. You get a free bottle of wine. How cool is that? Today, which is Tuesday, 10 times points all day. Some restrictions do apply. Please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Tell them I sent you. I love that place. It is absolutely awesome. I'm also debating whether I should go out to Nye County today, go out to Pahrump, and get my 3 minutes to oppose Michelle Fiore running for office. I might be making that trip today with Chris Wynn. It appears as though I probably will. So it could be an interesting trip. But anyway, Thomas joining us back. And Thomas, I wanted to talk to you about some national issues. And I want to start with this one, of course. The January 6th committee, they had their final public hearing yesterday. In that public hearing yesterday, they recommended the Justice Department investigate Trump for inciting an insurrection, obstructing an official proceeding, conspiring to defraud the United States, and conspiring to make a false statement. Now, obviously, there are plenty of Republicans and Trump supporters and those in office that do not agree. But, they've laid their foundation, and I wanted to get your legal perspective on this. It's interesting because Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell yesterday made a statement saying the entire nation knows who's responsible for that day. Clearly, what Mitch McConnell is saying is, well, yeah, Donald Trump's responsible for what happened. What are your thoughts on this? And do you think the DOJ will actually file criminal charges against the former president of the United States?
No, well, it seems like it's a running theme through the show today about prosecutorial discretion, right? And it's all up to Merrick Garland. And, they can refer charges over to him, but ultimately he has the say so on whether to file charges. And one thing about the federal DOJ is there's a principle behind prosecution there. So first, they need to determine whether they can prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt to a fair-minded jury. So ethical duty of a prosecutor, if you feel like you cannot do that, you're not even supposed to file charges. And secondly, under the DOJ, and you can look at this is like in the principles of their prosecution, is it in the common interest in the federal good of the people? And that's a very interesting dynamic here because they've never had a former president referred for criminal charges. This is the first time in history. And there's another dynamic to it, which is he's announced that he's running for re-election, and he is basically going against the incumbent president, who is also seeking re-election, and the DOJ is kind of under the purview of the current president. So these are dynamics that, I think Garland and them are going to have to take in consideration before they just move forward. As far as, is it going to happen? Man, your guess is as good as mine. This has been such a crazy story ever since Trump even announced his run for the first term. This has just been a wild story to follow for the last few years.
This is a very difficult, from what I've heard, it will be a very difficult case to prove in a courtroom to convict Donald Trump. And again, from what I've heard, is that, Trump and his attorneys will say, this was his opinion. He had a right to contest the election. He had a right to think that there was cheating involved. That was political opinion. And it will be very difficult for them to prove in a courtroom, even though I do believe he incited January 6th, and he's the reason why it happened. I've been told it would be very difficult from a technicality standpoint to prove that he incited what took place.
They're supposed to release all the transcripts and all the witness interviews that they did, right? So we don't know exactly what they've uncovered, but it seemed like it was pretty strong evidence that he kind of knew that he had lost the election. Now, that's how the defense attorneys will spin it. The difficulty I'm looking at is more of a practicality of, as a prosecutor, I'm going, okay, we have to pick a jury in this case at the end of the day if we go to trial. And there's just a lot of Trump supporters. And you're not going to be able to keep people off of that jury. And it only takes one to say not guilty in order to hang that jury. So that's what makes the prosecution so tough here, because he just has so much support out there in the community, and you're not going to be able to just put 12 people up there who are anti-Trump. So there's a lot of anti-Trump people and pro-Trump. He's so divisive. But if we actually look at the charges, right, the most serious charges he's facing are, obstructing the proceeding of Congress. That carries the biggest penalty, up to 20 years in prison, $1,000 in fines. And that was actually trying to obstruct the counting of the votes. The second biggest thing that he's facing is aiding an insurrection. Now, insurrection has been used against lots of the people who actually stormed the Capitol, right? And the thing is with Donald Trump is the aiding an insurrection is actually probably more serious, even though it carries less prison time. It carries a 10-year penalty. If you're convicted of aiding an insurrection, you can never serve in political office again. So that's a really huge thing of what Congress wants. They never want him to serve again. I think Liz Cheney made that pretty clear. She said a guy who committed these acts should never hold political office in this country. And so those are the two main things he's facing. The problem with the obstruction charge is they have to prove not only intent, but it has to be corrupt intent. And corrupt has all this legal case law behind it, but it's a higher burden for the prosecution to meet. And it's going to be a tough hill to climb over. I mean, like, he's going to have defense attorneys litigate. You think the death penalty gets litigated? Man, any charges that go against Donald Trump, this thing's going to get litigated and delayed for a long time. And there's just a lot of political things behind the scenes where if I was Merrick Garland, I'd be pretty reluctant to file these charges.
The fact that the aura around this, as you said, is that this has never really happened before, right? Where a committee, Congress committee would recommend that a former president be charged with a crime, right? This has never happened in the history of this country. Because of that, does that aura about it make it even more difficult for the DOJ to kind of, snap the finger and say, okay, we're going to press charges on the former president?
Well, you're setting a precedent here.
Right.
It's never happened before. We're setting a precedent. And the thing that, the Senate committee member led with yesterday is we're not a country that lets the ringleaders go and punishes the people who were at the lower end of the spectrum. Well, yeah, that sounded great when he said it, but the truth is that's exactly what goes on in this country in the criminal justice system, because it's easier to prove the case against the people who were storming the Capitol, breaking windows, committing violent acts than a person who was so attenuated from it as Donald Trump was. And a lot of what they were doing is, Donald Trump's going to be able to, especially with the insurrection charge, he's going to be able to argue that, look, he was telling them to exercise their First Amendment right. He wasn't telling them to go and, commit a violent act in Congress. Now, that's going to be the two things that are thrown at trial, but it's the prosecution's burden to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And all the defense has to do is raise a reasonable doubt. And it's supposed to go not guilty. And that's what the country's really founded on, is you have to be sure.
Knowing what you know in this case, and obviously you don't know everything. We don't know everything. We haven't seen everything. But knowing what you do know, do you believe, the two-part question, do you believe the DOJ will file charges on Donald Trump? And ultimately, do you think he will ever be convicted of a crime?
I'm going to say no to the first question, which was they're not going to file charges. And so I'm going to say no, he will not be convicted of a crime. Look, this guy's not going to plead guilty to any of this stuff. So you file these charges, be ready to go all the way with it, right? I really think what it comes down to is, what are the American people going to do when this election comes forward, right? I mean, if this guy gets the Republican nomination and then he gets into the presidency, and you're still going to have an open prosecution against the guy? I mean, those are the wrenches that are involved here. So, I think these charges will not be filed. If I was Merrick Garland, I'd be pretty reluctant to do it.
Yeah. All right. I don't necessarily disagree with you. Of course, my personal feelings are that he should be charged, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Thomas Moskal, give out that information. I like in the new studio, by the way, over there that you got set up there. I'm liking the setup over there. Looking good. I wanted to give you an opportunity to give out that information. If anybody out there certainly gets a DUI, you're definitely the person to talk to, right?
Yeah. Google me, LasVegasCriminalLawyer.com. I specialize in DUI. I handle all kinds of cases, though. 848-5555. Brian plays the commercial all the time.
That's
So,
right. For the record, I don't want anybody Googling me. I don't think you might not find everything nice about me, but you will find
Googling means internet search, just so you
Yes,
know that.
fair
Okay.
enough.
All right.
Fair enough. Thomas Moskal, always appreciate your legal expertise, my friend. If I don't talk to you before Christmas, please have a great holiday with you and your family. And we will catch up with you soon, my friend. Hopefully in studio next week. Have a great Christmas, Thomas. Thanks for coming on.
All right, Brian.
Appreciate that. That's Thomas Moskal, the former DA here of Clark County. Was a great prosecutor and now great defense attorney for DUI clients. Look, folks, it's pretty simple here, right? I say this to Republicans and Trump supporters all the time. You don't think Donald Trump incited January 6th? No? You don't think so? Okay, answer this question for me then. If Donald Trump for months, and until, to this day, by the way, if he didn't say he won the election in a landslide and Joe Biden cheated and the Democrats cheated, does January 6th happen? The answer is, of course not. The reason why January 6th happened, besides the fact that you have a bunch of mentally ill, criminal, Proud Boy members, white supremacists, and just horrible human beings that committed some horrible crimes that day at the hands of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the one that lied. Donald Trump is the one that incited, and to this day, he still does. And he needs to be held to account for that. Now, sadly, I think I agree with Thomas. I don't think that's going to happen. I wish it was the case, but I don't think that's going to happen. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and Thomas explained, several of them. But that's how I feel. And there are still many Trumpers out there that are running for office. And we spoke yesterday about Michelle Fiore running for office again in Nye County. And I've just been told that she's sitting in a room in Nye County that I plan to attend here in a few hours. And I'm going to get my 3 minutes. And I joked around on social media and I said, I can get a lot done in 3 minutes. Just ask one of my ex-girlfriends. And it's a horrible joke, but in 3 minutes, you can say a lot of things. And I plan to say a lot of things about Michelle Fiore. She's running for office in Nye County, but she is a perfect example of the Lauren Boeberts, of the Marjorie Taylor Greens, people like Matt Gaetz. I don't like Ilhan Omar either, but I don't think she rises to the level of some of these other morons that are being investigated by the FBI, or the Michael McDonalds, or the Jim Marchands. These are really despicable people we're talking about here. Are there only despicable people on the right? No, of course not. I would say Anthony Weiner, I liked him as a politician, hate him as a person. Bill Clinton, liked him as a politician, hate him as a person. Right? There's people in life where you can, and vice versa. You can like them as a politician, but hate them as a person. I don't know how you could like Donald Trump either way, as a person or as a politician, but regardless of that, there are people that should not be in leadership positions. There are people that should not be representing anybody. And Michelle Fiore is certainly one of those people. Donald Trump is certainly one of those people. There are a lot of people that are in power right now that have no business being there. Jim Jordan, for example, how can you support a guy like this? He bashes Democrats every day. Okay, fine. What has he done to help the country? What bills has he passed? Oh, you know what? Zero. He's passed 0 bills. All these people do is they want to attack the other side, right? All these people, that's all they do. They just want to attack, and they have no solutions to problems facing this country. I hear it all the time. I get into debates with people all the time about Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't my first, second, or third choice. My vote for Joe Biden was an anti-Donald Trump vote. And I still get a lot of people that say to me, Brian, why are you obsessed with Donald Trump? What? Well, first of all, I'm not obsessed. This is the leader of the Republican Party. Donald Trump is still the face of the Republican Party. Whether people want to admit it or not, I really don't care. He is the front runner to be, if he's not in jail, to be running against either Joe Biden or somebody else on the left. He is that guy. So if anybody out there disagrees with me, you're not living in reality. Who is the person? I mean, really, who is the person, in your opinion, that can beat Donald Trump on the right? It's not Ron DeSantis. I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen. Who is it? Donald Trump is the face of the Republican Party still. Now, I know that there's a lot of Republicans out there that probably don't want that. There's a lot of Republicans out there that would like to see somebody else in there, but many of them are cowards and they refuse to say so. Maybe we'll get more into this in hour number 2, but I also want to talk about Elon Musk and Twitter. Elon Musk was hanging out with Jared Kushner at the finals of the World Cup and a bunch of Saudis. Now, those Saudis that he was hanging out with have invested the overwhelming majority of the money into Twitter. And then all of a sudden, within 24 hours, he puts up this poll that says, do you think I should step down as Twitter, the owner, the guy who runs Twitter, something along those lines. And if you don't, then I'll step down. He made a statement like that. Well, guess what? 57% in the poll said they want him to step down. I think if he steps down, it's got nothing to do with the poll, and it's got everything to do with the Saudis telling him to step down, the investors. But it's interesting because all these Republicans nonstop, they want to talk about freedom of speech. They want to talk about conservatives. They're being silenced. It's interesting because all these conservatives and Republicans, or most of them, they don't even understand what freedom of speech is. They don't even understand how it doesn't pertain to private business. Now, listen, you can't discriminate against people because of the color of their skin. For example, Elon Musk couldn't go on today and say, hey, all black people are going to be banned from Twitter. No, that's discrimination. You can't do that under any business, right? There are certain laws that you have to abide by. You couldn't go on and say, hey, gay people, we're not going to allow gay people on Twitter. Even though there are some schools that do that, which I find interesting because that's discrimination. But due to religious beliefs, I guess they're protected because you can have a hateful religion, which is absurd, by the way. Don't even get me started there. But let's be honest about this. And let's be fair about this. Elon Musk is the owner. He can, for the most part, do what he wants. If he wants to ban a bunch of liberals, I'm not going to be crying about that. If he wants to ban certain people, he has the right to do that. He's the owner. That's called freedom. And Republicans out there say, liberals are okay with censoring people until it's them. No. It goes both ways. This is a private business. Twitter is a private business. You have the right, if you're Elon Musk, to ban who you want to ban. That is just the reality of the situation. Elon Musk has the right to do that. So yes, if there are Democrats out there that are complaining and whining about Elon Musk banning certain Twitter accounts, then they're wrong because it's a private business. But I don't see a ton of Democrats complaining about it. It certainly is a news story, but I don't hear a bunch of Democrats or liberals complaining about that. Just like before Elon Musk, Twitter had the right to ban certain people from being on social media. Now, my personal opinion is medical misinformation is very, very serious. You shouldn't be allowed to post any medical, especially if you have a big platform. For example, you shouldn't be allowed to say millions of people are dying from the vaccines. That's not an opinion. That's just not factually accurate. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. There has to be certain standards. And if you don't abide by those standards, then in my personal opinion, you should be kicked off of Twitter. But that's just my personal opinion, right? I don't own Twitter. I don't make the rules. Again, it goes back to the circle of the conversation we had on freedom of speech. Freedom of speech pertains to the government. Freedom of speech does not pertain to private business. Many of these ignorant Republicans don't understand that because they're stupid. I really don't know what else to say. You can go on a street corner and you could hold up a sign that says, I hate white people. Wouldn't be a very intelligent thing to do, or I hate black people, whatever race you claim that you don't like because you're a hateful person. You can do that. You can go on a public sidewalk and do that. Freedom of speech, right? Pertaining to the government. The government, you can't be arrested. You're allowed to do that. However, your employer, if he finds out or she finds out that you're doing that, they have the right to fire you. What about my freedom of speech? What about my rights? That doesn't pertain to private business. I don't know why that's so difficult for some of you to understand. I really don't. Well, I don't like Elon Musk, and I don't like what he's doing, and I don't like what he stands for. He's the one who got the money. He's the one who bought Twitter. He's the owner. For the most part, he has a right to do whatever he wants to do. And all the crybaby Republicans out there that were saying, Twitter, they're censoring conservatives. Even if that was true, and even if that was the case, they have a right to do that. I really don't know what else to say. It's pretty simple. You own a business, you run it the way you want to. And so far, that's what Elon Musk is doing, but I'm not sure it's good for business. And my personal opinion is he's not going to be running Twitter for much longer. All right, here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break. And before we do, we're going to be having, by the way, the star of the hit show Tanked, Brett Raymer, is going to be joining us in hour number 2. Before we get there, I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care. They're located at 6125 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 1B. No appointment needed. Give them a call, 702-248-0554. The great thing about this place, besides the great care that they will take care of you, there's no question about that. You'll get in and out of there in 20 minutes. They take most insurances, and if you don't have insurance, all they charge is $95. They took care of me. I promise you they'll take care of you. Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care. Please to give them a call. That number again, 702-248-0554. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the reality TV star himself from the hit show Tank, Brett Raymer, will be joining us, and he has an announcement because I heard a rumor that Tank might be back on television very, very soon. Take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with Brett Raymer. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Hey, everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client. So please give them a call, 702-248-0554. Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Best of Las Vegas winners each of the last 2 years. Glazed Donuts is a family business. Taste the passion and quality in each delectable handmade donut. Experience amazing fresh donuts at Glazed Donuts, located at 6545 South Fort Apache Road on the southwest corner of Sunset. Glaze is open every day from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're interested in large orders, please call them at 702-246-2888. Follow Glaze on Facebook and Instagram, where they're showing off all their delicious treats. And check them out at glazedonutslv.com.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555.
Experience the Artisan Hotel's themed suites, restaurant, bar, pool, and complimentary valet. During the week, the Artisan is a quiet Las Vegas retreat that's great for travelers and locals. The weekend is all about nonstop partying and the award-winning Artisan nightlife. All rooms include free gym access and Wi-Fi. The Artisan Hotel is centrally located between the Strip and downtown Las Vegas. Book your stay at artisanhotel.com. The Artisan Hotel, your unique Las Vegas boutique hotel.
The world-famous radio shopping show weekdays on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas and KSHP.com.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, welcome back to this Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Certainly some interesting conversation we had with Thomas Moskal last hour. I always love having not only great friends in the studio, but reality TV stars, right? No, I'm not talking about Jersey Shore. I'm not talking about, the MTV Real World, episode number 84, season 162. No, I'm talking about an original show, a show that I love, I've always loved, and my good friend from the hit show, oh, Hank, Brett Rammer joining us. And I know it's your son's birthday, so we get him involved here too. What is it like having a 16-year-old son, by the way?
It's great. Honestly, it's great. We get along good. I'm able to, instill some of the things that, my dad instilled in me and for him, whether good or bad, right? But no, it's just great. As you get older, the kids, like I feel like the relationships get stronger, and he's a really good kid, and I'm glad to have him in the studio today.
Maybe later on in the show, maybe father could sing his son happy birthday. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do that. Well, how have you been, man? You got this amazing restaurant that, and I don't just say that because you support the show. It is great food. It's awesome. You've got so many different projects going on. I know you've been so busy the last couple months. What have you been up to?
Yeah, so the restaurant's really doing well. I was never in the restaurant business, and I always wanted to own a restaurant. And I always try to do the things that in my life that my bucket list, and the restaurant was on my bucket list. Yep. And I also want to show my kids that anything that I talk about, that I want to definitely try to get done. So, but I realized I learned a lot, like I learned about food costing. I learned about, what it takes to run a restaurant. I learned that you can't please everyone, no matter how good your food is.
There are a lot of idiots out there.
Yeah, there are, but but you know what it is? I take some of that stuff to heart. When you get somebody.
Can you give me I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, you're good.
Can you get my ADD?
That's what I got. Interrupt.
We both have ADD.
Yeah, I had a lady.
What's the worst story? Yeah,
well, I just had a lady the other day post up online. She was just like, I do these advertisements on social media. And she went on the social media right on our page, and she goes, "Yeah, I've been there. The food is absolutely terrible, garbage, garbage." So, that to me is a little bit harsh. I know our food is definitely not garbage. I mean, I read the hundreds and hundreds of amazing reviews and people that just come in there. And it's not just because I'm in there. I met the chef because I love food. And I met him somewhere else that his food was amazing.
You talking about Chef Louis?
Chef Louis. And I met him and his food was amazing. So I convinced him to be my chef. So bringing him over from his restaurant means bringing over his recipes.
This guy, Chef Louis, he's like Joe Pesci to me. He looks like Joe Pesci. He talks like Joe Pesci. The only difference is he's not whacking guys like he did in Casino. He's making great food.
Yeah, he's whacking meatballs.
That's right. No, he is a phenomenal chef.
Yeah, phenomenal chef. He's very anal about the kitchen. Our stuff's really, really clean. The way it just we run a really tight establishment, and I wanted this establishment to be known as the hole in the wall. Like that place that you can go to, have that mom and pop feel. Everybody there is super friendly. It's kind of got the Cheers vibe without the alcohol. And the place is so small. The reason we don't have alcohol is we thought about it. We were going to get our license, but as soon as you put a beer or wine into somebody's hand, yes, you're going to make the bill a little higher.
But what I love though about this restaurant, besides the great food, is that you have all this memorabilia in your store. If you get people that have never been in there, and doing the show Tanked, with the whole show is you're going to celebrities' homes. It could have been Shaquille O'Neal, right? It could have been anybody.
Yeah.
And you have all this memorabilia because you were smart about it. Not only did you went to there, hey, I'm going to Shaq's house. We're going to film an episode. I'm going to bring a couple of jerseys for him to sign.
Yes,
and you kept them, and it's all over your store, and it's like so cool. Like the memorabilia is so awesome.
We have an awesome display of memorabilia, but you put the memorabilia along with the televisions, then you put alcohol in someone's hand, they never want to leave. So we just can't turn over tables. So we figured, keep the alcohol out of people's hands, let them get the good food. Our service is really quick. We want to get the turnover. So, and we made the atmosphere fun. We want you to come in there and have a good time. There's music always playing. It's great. Whether it's Billy Joel, whether it's Frank Sinatra, the TVs are always on. Always the Knights, Cowboys, the Giants, the Jets. I mean, we play everything in there. If someone wants to request, they can request up to 5 televisions and change the channel. So.
It's awesome. I love it. I mean, a kid growing up in New York, did you ever think you'd be the owner of an Italian restaurant?
No, I thought sandwich shop. That was always my thing growing up. We grew up across from this place called Jimmy's Sub Shop. And there were, I must have been 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, always going to this sub shop when I was a kid. And there were guys in there that were 23, 24, 25, they all had the nice cars, and they all worked in this sandwich shop. So it was very intriguing to me that these guys were always there. They closed at 3:00. They were done. It was open, just like they did like a morning and a lunch business. And I don't know, it was always intriguing. I love to cook. I'm always into food. And then I always had this thing about, calling my sandwiches superheroes. People call them subs. Like out there, there's Subway. You got Port of Subs. We call ours heroes. So at the end of the day, I always had this slogan of why be a sub when you could be a hero.
Yeah, we have Chris Wynn say that on the ad. That ad is still running.
I know. And I get people that comment about it all the time. They're like, yeah, we came in, we heard that ad,
That's awesome.
So it's good. But yeah, the restaurant business isn't as easy as it seems to be. But it's definitely a challenge for me, and I'm really having a good time at it. And like I said, we're going to make it through our 1-year anniversary, and we're going to keep moving along. And hopefully the next location, if we open one like in Summerlin or that, Northwest, it'll have a bar, it'll have a lot bigger. It'll have a lot bigger, maybe some gaming, who knows.
You're at a very busy intersection though, right? Maryland and
Silverado Ranch and Bermuda.
Right around that area. Yeah. So it's a very, very busy intersection. So it's a good spot to have a new business.
Yeah, so it's a quick jump off the 15, right off the South Point exit on Silverado Ranch, half mile down, you make, right off the exit.
Well, I knew it was going to be a smash hit before it even opened. I was there when you guys were building. I'm like, this place is going to be awesome. And you have the right employees working for you too, which is very important. You got to have good food. You got to have a good product. And name recognition, you have all that stuff. So I'm happy for you.
Sure. And it's been a learning experience. Even the staff working together, learning how to get out of there on time and cleaning. And, it's just, like I said, it's been fun. I go down there, literally I'm there 3 nights a week. Not that I have to
You're there all the time.
I just love being there.
Yeah.
I just enjoy, because literally I would be sitting on my couch watching the same sports, but I love cooking. So like I'm there cooking and
you have a passion
sports.
for that.
I do. I really do. Yeah,
I can tell.
I like seeing people smile. I like, the best is when I get, tourists that come from out of town, and then they know it's my restaurant, but they never expect to see me there. And then they walk in, and then, or what about even better, the people that don't know it's my restaurant, and then I'm walking around bringing out food out of the kitchen, and then they look at me and they go, man, I don't mean to be crazy, but could I just ask you a quick question? I'm like, sure. And then I'm like, wait, before you ask me, I'm going to say, I'll give you the answer. Why, I'll give you the question. Why is the fish tank guy cooking for me inside of the pizza place? And they start smiling. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, this is my restaurant. I just do a passion. Like, oh my God, it's great. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's cool. I go there. I meet fans. I take pictures, hang out. It's fun.
So you have a lot of other projects in the works, some of which you can't really talk about right now, which we will in the future, but very exciting projects, right?
I have a couple of really good things in the works that, under wraps right now. Yep. But the thing that's not under wraps is, over the last 2 years, we've been building an interactive aquarium maintenance training platform where it's going to basically teach people how to maintain their aquarium the proper way, teach them about livestock, husbandry, teach them about what to look for when you go into a store and buy your fish, where you should buy your fish, where you shouldn't buy your fish from, how you should have your tank, away from a window and not near a window. I mean, just all the little tidbits that we learned over it's me and a business partner over 60 years, we basically put into a school. And you can go and you'll be able to take our school, and not only will you be able to, take our school, you'll be able to take. Remember in class back in the day when you used to have to go and do like the flute? Everybody had to get a flute.
Yes.
And they made you buy the flute, right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had that too back on the East Coast. You had music class. Everybody had to spend 19. Me too. I hated it. It's to beat people with the flute. But the bottom line is that they make you buy the flute. So this is kind of the same premise, right? We give you the course. We charge you very minimally for the course, but we sell you all the products in between that you need to be successful. And it's my passion. This is my the big one that I really believe in wholeheartedly. And so that's that. And then now we're partners at AO.
You're still getting GPS here to the radio station.
We literally have a partner in the scooter business on the strip with a buddy of ours.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, BSSR scooters and Slingshot
I love
rentals.
those little scooters.
So now we're partners in a scooter business. I go down there a few days a week. We're going to be doing a bunch of other things. Hopefully ATV tours, which my son will be involved in, and mobility scooters, which is for the people that get around the hotels.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so we're just doing a bunch of different things right now. Trying to keep busy.
You're a busy man. While you're busy with all this stuff, are you paying attention to the news, like political news and?
What's funny is I am not as much as I used to. To be
we
honest,
used to get into debates all the time.
We probably still could debate a little bit.
What are your thoughts on Joey? Your boy Joey Biden.
I mean, open borders. The gas prices.
You really believe the borders are open?
What?
You really believe that?
Oh, 100%. I believe the borders are open. Yeah, I do.
No security at all.
I'm not saying
wide open.
No.
Come on down.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where are the borders?
El Paso, Texas. Eagle Pass. I mean, there's people sleeping in the airport. Yeah.
Okay, but here's my question when it comes to that. Here we go. We're opening up the bundle. Here we go.
Whatever question you like.
Okay. When you say the borders are open, there's a fine line between that and saying we could have better security at the borders. The borders are not wide open. Could we as a country be doing a better job securing our borders? Absolutely, but it's been like that for decades.
Here's the thing. I agree with you, but it depends on what the definition of open borders are, right? Okay. You can sit here and say that open borders can mean to you wide open, where you can just anyone can walk on through, they're not going to be stopped. Or you can have a definition of open borders where people are getting through the border without going through the proper system by the boatload.
But isn't that both Republicans and Democrats?
Oh, I didn't say this is let's not talk about party. This is not a partisan issue.
But a lot of people do.
Okay, but I'm not talking.
Fair enough.
You're bringing this up right now. You're bringing the partisan issue.
Well, I assumed you were going to put it on Joe Biden.
I'm not putting it. All I'm saying is right at this moment, it doesn't matter who's in charge. As a country right now, right? As my fellow citizens that live in Texas, that live in El Paso, that live in Eagle Pass.
Yes.
I'm not talking about, it doesn't matter who's in charge.
Well, why just this moment,
crisis? We are having a crisis right now in our country between drugs.
But it's not just right now. It's been like this for decades.
Fentanyl has not been in the country like it's been now. It's been transported. Before it was prescription drugs back then. And then that was combated when Trump came into office. The prescription drugs, all that kind of the death toll started going down. Now we're seeing this rise in fentanyl because of something we call, whatever your description of it is open borders to me, where drugs can freely flow in. We don't have enough staff to combat what's going on. Plus, what is actually happening is not being, shown completely 100% in the media.
Okay, but we agree it doesn't matter whether it's fentanyl or cocaine. If drugs are being smuggled, it's bad, right? We agree on that.
It's bad.
We agree that we need to do something to combat this, and it needs to be fixed. Correct?
Correct.
The only way that's going to happen is if Republicans and Democrats come together and say, okay, this is what we need to do. But
I got to agree.
In decades, that hasn't happened. It's not, and I agree with you. It's not just a Joe Biden problem or Donald Trump or Republican versus Democrat.
This isn't
exactly.
It's and it hasn't been like that for a really, really
Here's
long
what
time.
I don't like. Oh, under Joe Biden, the worst immigration issues we've ever had. Okay, talk like that is not going to get anything done.
It won't. But here's the thing: you also got to remember there were certain policies, certain things that were put into place that he signed out of office on day one that made it a lot easier. The people were wearing Joe Biden shirts. They all were lined up. They knew that when he signed these, whatever they were, the 50 something that he signed, I don't remember. Like I said, I'm refreshing as we're talking. He signed some of these policies that enabled people to come through the country through an improper manner a lot easier, where they're going to be catch and release. There's a lot of different things that could have been avoided if we just would have kept things in place and not touched what was already existing. Right or wrong. I'm not talking about if the policies were right or wrong, but all I know is whatever they had at the time was working for our country.
Well, I'll respond to that in a very general way. I'm sure that the Biden administration could be doing more to help the situation, which is a crisis. I agree, but it has been for a long time. It's not just been a crisis.
I really
for 2
wanted
years.
to go down there and just as just a content creator and as someone that, loves the country and just doesn't see it on mainstream media as much as it should be. I wanted to really fly down there with a camera. I look at it because I watch it and I see it and I'm like, man, I just want to go down and really see what's going on.
I think we all know a lot of politicians do that for photo ops, but but
I would like to just do it just as an American citizen, not as Brett Raymer, just to go down there and
not Brett Baer, Brett Raymer.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because every time I'm watching, I'll watch news, they'll be like,
I'm Brett Baer and I'm a stiff.
They'll go, okay, Brett. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
That's funny. Well, listen, I don't think, like I said, it's not a left problem, a right problem. It's an American problem. And a
lot of the things in our country are American.
But Brett,
problems.
I feel like a lot of people on the right don't want more brown people in this country. I'm sorry, I feel that way. You hear people that are in office on the right that want to deport every undocumented worker that's in this country, and that's absurd. You have and again, if you put on Fox News, which I know you do sometimes,
I do.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
A lot of Laura Ingraham will only talk about crimes committed by black people. Laura Ingraham will only talk about crimes committed by illegals or undocumented, whatever word you want to use.
Well, I think the reason you got to remember, and here's another thing, Brian, you also got to remember, it's also because the media has made it politics as well. They don't report equally. So you have one side that's going to report one way. And if we were able to get everybody to report equally, like the press is supposed to do, then maybe you wouldn't have as much as somebody being on one side. Just like how CNN, all they do is talk about Donald Trump. And you have this side talking about only this and this. No one talks about everything across the board equally. And that's the problem with mainstream media.
CNN has far more Republicans on that network than Fox News has Democrats. You have to at least admit that. I agree with you. If you said MSNBC, I agree with you 150%. MSNBC is probably just as far to the left as Fox News is to the right. I think CNN.
I see Fox bring on a lot of Democrats. 100% I do.
I don't
see them.
Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham.
No, but I mean, you're talking about as far as hosts.
I'm talking about after 5 p.m. when it's no longer hard news and it's opinionated shows. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, they have the same idiots on every night.
That's because, again, the networks it's become politicized. It's been separated by Democrat versus Republican. It's not just media anymore. That's the problem we have. It's not the media is not an open source of media. Just look, we could talk Hunter Biden all day long.
There are good journalists on both networks.
You can look at Twitter again, what's going on with Twitter.
Why do you care so much about Hunter Biden?
It's not that I care about Hunter Biden.
Do you really care about that?
I care about what's going on, about how the FBI and how everything is in Twitter, working for Twitter. They got people, they paid $3.8 million to Twitter. That came out today, to be a part of that. All I'm saying is I believe in free speech, right? I don't believe in inciting, riots and, doing things that hate speech and things of that nature. But I do believe in free speech.
But that doesn't pertain to private business.
You shouldn't suppress things in the media to make it political. It shouldn't.
I was just talking about this last segment.
Okay.
But this. Free speech pertains to the government. It doesn't pertain to private business. If Elon Musk wants to ban every liberal on Twitter, he has the right to do that. And if people before him wanted to ban conservatives,
but they don't have the right to do it at the word of the government. They don't have the right for the government.
But there's no proof that the government.
Listen to me. Have you been reading the Twitter files?
Right, but
have you been reading the Twitter?
Yes, I have.
There's 100% proof.
Yes,
so
I have. But the
don't
FBI.
Say there's no proof.
No,
there's 100% proof.
If you're inciting violence, absolutely, that's a crime.
There's 100% proof that the guy James Baker, the reason he got fired, the guy behind, the FISA warrant. I mean, all this is connected, right? And everybody's connected. They're all connected by the hip. And what they did to the American people through Twitter is just terrible, bro. It really is. It's not the government paid. It came out today. I don't know if you saw this. They paid like $3.5 million to Twitter, right? The FBI did for information. And there's just a whole trace of all of this stuff. I haven't read it all because I've been super busy, but I've been catching like little dribs and drabs through the reading and through some of the news
Through
that,
Fox News.
that I've caught. No, just through all the news. Because I'm going to tell you what's funny is I watch Fox, but then I'll go over to the other networks just to see what they're saying. You know what I mean? To see how opposite they both are.
But in the grand scheme of things, if you're talking about Hunter Biden still is only under investigation for tax fraud. There's nothing in that laptop that we know of that would suggest that Joe Biden committed any crimes.
Yeah.
Well, you can
they
say
haven't
yet,
they haven't had an investigation yet.
but then why is everybody talking about it if they don't even know what's on the laptop?
But what they're talking about mostly is the fact that the government got involved to suppress the information prior to the
government. As far as I know,
the election.
But as far as I know, the government got involved because they didn't want misinformation. There were people on social media, Republicans, that were saying Hunter Biden was having sex with underage girls.
The 51 intelligence officers that came from Joe Biden that signed the documentation that said it was Russian disinformation, and that came out before the election. And then the government was involved in suppressing the information that was truth. And they tried to cover it up by doing all of this, by using these 51 intelligent agents. It was a complete lie.
How do we know whether it's disinformation or not if you don't even know what's on the laptop?
No, you don't understand. They said that the information
I know what you're saying.
Was disinformation.
Maybe some of it was.
That the laptop itself was disinformation, that it wasn't even Hunter Biden's laptop.
People were saying what was in the laptop. That was disinformation.
But none of it is disinformation. Him with hookers smoking crack.
No, that's not what.
None of that is.
First of all, he's a private citizen.
I
don't know why.
But cares. Why? Because some of this was in China
So what?
When he was Well, that's how you get. When you get video of that, that's how Epstein got all of his people. He blackmailed everyone.
Ivanka
through video.
Trump was in China making money because of who her father was.
But she wasn't having sex. She wasn't having things.
She wasn't having sex. What does that matter?
Because Hunter Biden was basically caught up in doing drugs. He was caught up.
He's a private citizen.
But he's the president's
had
son. And when you have
you don't think Don Jr.'s doing drugs?
Why do you think Jeffrey Epstein had so many all these videos of people?
How could you compare Jeffrey Epstein to Hunter Biden? You know that's not fair.
No, I'm talking about the act. The act, not him himself.
If
but
Biden paid money for hookers, yes, it's illegal. But Epstein sodomizing kids.
Okay, like I said, all we got to do is.
This is why I love getting.
We have the guy Bobulinski. We have all the proof, and everything's now that the Republicans have the House, there will be an investigation into this in January.
You know what I find interesting,
and what's going to happen is they're going to get to the root of the cause,
of the Hunter Biden laptop. I find it interesting that for the last couple of years, they talk about gas prices, they talk about inflation, and then when they take the House, what's the first thing on their mind? Oh, let's go after the Hunter Biden laptop and the Biden family. If they really care about people like you and me, wouldn't they be doing what's more important to the American people first, addressing gas prices and inflation and helping Americans? No, let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. I find that to be so disingenuous.
They're going to do that too, but I think at the end of the day,
the Senate first.
But the Senate is creating. You see what they're doing right now. They're trying to spend $1.7 trillion. They're the ones that created this inflation. Right, all the spending that they did,
Democrats created inflation.
Yeah, by all the money. When Biden came into office and he signed that $4 trillion last $1 trillion deal or whatever it was, that's what basically spurned.
So
inflation.
Why is inflation across the world then? Are Democrats controlling the world? Because inflation is all over the world, and you know the economy that Joe Biden took up. And by the way, Donald Trump put us more in debt than Obama did in 8 years.
Well, I don't know about that. All I know is the last bit of spending is what put us into.
You really believe that Joe Biden is responsible for, in the last 2 years, for all the inflation and all the gas prices in this? You really believe that?
All of it? I believe he's responsible for a lot of it. I do. I really believe he's responsible.
Why?
Because I just think some of the. Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let's go back and
change roles. Let's
reverse it. Let's reverse this for a second. Okay,
sure.
So when Biden came into office,
yes,
everything was a lot lower. Everything across the board.
Sure.
Tell me why it's higher.
We didn't have a war in the Ukraine, for starters.
You believe that? So that's the reason why our eggs are up, is because the war in Ukraine?
You asked me a question. I'm going to give you the answer. That's a big part of it. If you ask most economists, absolutely, that is a big issue. There's no question about that. That is a big issue there. Supply and demand.
Well, we had supply and demand.
We were getting out
the pandemic.
We were just starting to get out of COVID, and it's called corporate greed. If you look at let's go gas prices for a moment.
You don't think the billions and billions of dollars of fraudulent PPP loans that they gave out and all the money that was spent fraudulently from all of these people, the hundreds
do you understand
of billions,
under Donald Trump, a lot of those PPP loans were given out? You do understand that?
This is not a Trump or whatever.
Well, I think
I'm
it is. You're blaming Biden for everything. You're not blaming Trump for anything.
All I'm saying is the government. I'm just saying the government in general. We have all of these loans, and now they're even trying to give this money.
If you want to blame the government for some of the issues we have, I think that is very fair. But to say that Biden is responsible.
Well, all I'm saying is I know that he's responsible by some of the orders that he signed when he came into office. Gas leasing price. Like I said, I'm not an economist, so you can sit here and I know there's people.
Well, you're a successful businessman.
There's people that sit on both sides of the fence, right? That say, he did this and it's because of this. And then you get over here, these people that say this, that he did this and he said this.
Well, well, it's very simple. You know this. Joe Biden does not tell oil refineries what to charge, or gas stations what to charge for gas. If you look at the facts are in the last couple of years, these oil refineries are making record profits.
But they're not producing. First of all, they're making record profits because more people. They went from losing all kinds of money to everybody that was stuck for 2 years now coming out of the woodwork.
Under Donald Trump.
But the bottom line is that they don't pump as much oil anymore because of taxes, because of leases on land. I don't really know the whole reason behind it, but we're not pumping as much oil.
There are 8,000 sites right now.
We don't refine enough oil. We don't have enough oil refineries here in the United States. We don't refine enough oil, and we should. When they shut the pipeline down, when they shut the Nord Stream pipeline down, that basically hurt the oil business. That was something they knew that by the time 2023 or whatever it was, how much oil was going to be flowing. So people were more open to invest money into oil exploration
simple question, then.
Versus now, because they're scared that they're going to shut it all down.
Simple question then. If that is the case, and you truly believe that some of Joe Biden's policies are the main reason why our gas prices are so high, then explain to me why in 90% of the world right now as we speak, gas prices are through the roof. Is that Joe Biden's fault also? Explain to me why that is.
Well, I could understand why. I could understand how in Europe the war affects that side of the world. I could understand that because that's Europe. That's where the war is actually happening.
But I'm talking about all over the world.
If we were having a war here, it's not all over the world.
90% of the countries in the world right now, our gas prices are much higher now than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with, like you said, supply and demand, right? I also think that,
of course,
yeah, but I also think that it also has to do with other oil going to other different places. So when the United States, we used to export oil, and now we're importing oil. So when you start importing oil, you're taking oil away from other countries, and when you start taking oil away from other countries, that in turn with the war is also going to have an effect because it's supply and demand, right? If we were exporting 2-3 million barrels a day versus taking in 2, 3, 4, 5 million barrels a day, that could be an 8 million barrel a day swing. 8 million barrels a day out in the field could, if there wasn't a war, could marginalize things. I'm not saying that it's not a combination of a bunch of different things, but I also know that the oil industry was better off making more fuel, more oil, and the oil that we need to make gas before Biden signed those orders.
All right, well, let's see what the people think out there. Open up the phone lines at 702-221-7283. Hey, it's reality TV star from Tanked, Brett Raymer. I'll open up the phone lines. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. That's 221-7283 is the number to call. Should we take a break first and then take some calls? What do you
that's
think,
cool.
Brett?
Let's take a break.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah,
and then
we'll ramp up. I could wash up and get ready for the callers.
Let's
do it, baby.
I love it. I always love it when Brett comes in. He always gets people riled up. I love it. That's what I do too. So that we both enjoy doing that. All right, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. When we come back, besides taking some calls, I'm also going to ask Brett what he thinks about Donald president in 2024. Yes, I will ask him about that as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site X-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client. So please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The best choice for convenience, comfort, and value, My Place hotels are ideal for both short-term and long-term travelers. The rooms at My Place features pillow-top mattresses, microfiber bedding, and a variety of soft and firm pillows. All extended stay rooms offer their own kitchen, which includes a full-size refrigerator and a cooktop. On-site laundry facilities are also available for extended stays at pet-friendly My Place hotels. Book your stays online at myplacehotels.com. My Place Hotels, St. George and West Jordan, Utah. Make My Place your place.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits. It is a Tuesday. We got reality TV star Brett Raymer, and we always get into it when it comes to politics, and I love it. I love it. And now we're taking your phone calls. It's a chance to battle Brett Raymer. The number to call, 702-221-7283. Always love a good political battle. Let's start with John. John, you are on with the reality TV star Brett Raymer. Go right ahead, sir.
Hey, man.
What up,
hey,
John?
Brian, before I get into it with Brett, all of us are on going to Trump later on today. I look forward to the video.
Well, Chris Wentz said he wanted to stop at the brothel, but I said, well, that's here nor there. Let's maybe Michelle Fiore could apply for a job there. I don't know. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Brett, do you have a college degree?
I do.
Where'd you go to college?
Stony Brook.
Okay.
And it's in political science, just so you know.
Okay, good for you. Give yourself a cookie. But the reason I say that is you sound so much crap against the wall. I'm wondering if you're able of critical thought. First of all, you've said so much stuff that made my blood pressure spike. I really don't know where to start. The most egregious, though, is this constant baloney and malarkey that Democrats are tax and spend and Republicans shrink the deficit and cut taxes. Do you know?
Wait, hold on. Did you listen to the right show? Where did that come from? Did you hear? When did I say that?
Just about 15 minutes ago.
What? Tell me exactly what I said. Remind me exactly what I said.
I'll get back.
You don't know.
I'll
Maybe
get
that was
the
last
transcript.
show because you got to get me with the. I really don't remember what tax and spend. I was just talking about just what. All I know is that they just spent 1.7 trillion today. That's all I said.
Okay. Do you know why they're
Of
spending
course
that
I do.
money
They spent
today?
865 million in military, and then they spent another 700 million in domestic.
Okay. But the main point is that's a bunch of malarkey, man. Under President Barack Obama, the deficit, not the debt, not the national debt, the annual deficit decreased every single year he was president as a percentage of GDP. And he was handed the worst economy of all, second only to the Great Recession, the Great Depression. Obama was handed the Great Recession. So he was handled a total pile of crap. He will go down in history as perhaps the greatest manager of the economy of any president ever. Now, regarding inflation, it's just hilarious to me. Oh, by the way, I filled up my tank yesterday. It was like $3.85. Does Biden get credit for that?
Does Biden get credit for the tank being 380? Yeah, supply and demand. It's the winter, Donk. Nobody uses gas right now. Everybody's traveling. You see the blizzard that's going on. Where's anyone going? They're staying home. What are you talking about? Supply and demand. As soon as everybody comes out, as soon as the blizzards go away and people
tortured rationalization, some pathetic excuse.
Come on, learn some economics, bro. The summer just happened and everybody was out and about from the pandemic. Now the winter's here and people are using a lot less. It's kind of like your electricity and your gas. It's in the winter, your electricity goes down, your gas bill goes up. It's the same thing with the gas out there with supply and demand. It's $3.85 because nobody's using gas right now because nobody's traveling.
I remember when Biden became president in January.
I'm going to give, matter of fact, I'm going to give Biden credit for gas being $3.85 because you know what? Nobody has any money to travel because they're spending it on eggs, Donk.
Hey, Brett, define inflation, please.
Oh my Lord.
Can you define inflation?
This is not a class. This is something for me to you talk about an issue. You brought up an issue and I gave you your answer. Let's move on to the next issue. Let's go. What's next? Go ahead.
Is when too much money chases too few goods.
I get it. Right. Same thing with the gas. Same thing what you just said. You know what's funny is you just answered your own question. Why is the gas prices down? Too many people are not getting enough gas. That's exactly the answer. You just answered your own question. Can we move on to the next call? Yeah. This guy's wasting my time.
I can hear you.
He's wasting my time. He's wasting my time.
John, last word, 10 seconds, then I got to let you go.
You have a college degree?
I do. I went to Cornell.
Okay, good. At least we went to school. We went to school in the same state. At least we got something in common.
John, go ahead quickly. Go ahead.
I think it's pathetic, hysterical, outrageous that you feel sorry for the big oil companies. Those poor oil companies.
I never said that. I said it was a combination of a bunch of different things.
Leases and pipelines and all this crap. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Always entertaining when John and Brett get into a debate. Thank you for the call, John. I appreciate it.
Merry Christmas, pal.
Last time John called in, he claimed that Brett Raymer stole the name Stallone's for his restaurant. That was an epic debate. That's got thousands of views on social media. All right, let's get back to the phone line. That was an interesting one.
That was a good one.
That was very entertaining. 702-257-5396. Or I'm sorry, I just gave out the old number of the last station I worked at. That's
really?
Yeah.
That's how good the debate was.
I know. I forgot what station I was at. 702-221-7283. Please don't call that other number. 702-221-7283. All right, let's go to Ed. Ed is next on with Brett Raymer. Go ahead, Ed.
What's up, Ed?
Yeah, I had the margarita pizza and it had Kamada olives on it, which was interesting.
Are you sure you didn't order it with Kalamata olives?
No,
because it doesn't come that way.
Oh, well, maybe I ordered them. I don't know.
Yeah, because it doesn't come that way. I mean, if somebody would
order them, I bet I ordered them. But
Ed, how old are you? How old are you, Ed?
47.
All right, you're a little younger than me.
I have a question
I'm
for Ed.
forgetful once in a while.
I have a question for Ed,
Yeah.
because I think I know who this is that's calling. Ed, is it true that you called into another station and you were knocking this station for not having a powerful signal? Did you ever do that, Ed?
No, that was not me. I don't live here.
Oh, you don't? Okay, because I.
What about the space tank in Germany that
exploded?
No, he did. He did.
have any
Steve,
ideas
Ed,
on
don't
that?
you call into the Steve Sanchez show? Yes or no? Yeah, exactly. Because I got him. Yeah. Let me tell you something
Ed's
about
like 80.
Yeah, let me tell you something about Ed the idiot.
27,
Okay, let me
74.
tell you something about this idiot. Okay, he's welcome to call into the show anytime, and I'll gladly take his call. Okay. And he's won prizes on this show. He calls into another show that's on at like 7 p.m., where I think there's no other local person that's doing a radio show at that time. He calls into the other person's show because a listener of this show sent me the clip. And he says, "Oh, how about that liberal host who's on a show that I think the signal's run by a hamster?" You know, he's trying to knock me. And the host is like, why are you talking about another show? Like, nobody calls into this show talking about another show. And then the guy hangs up the phone. Yeah, I got you, Ed. You're an idiot. You want to call back, that's fine. But if you want to call into other shows, thank you for the free promotion, Ed. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
702-221-7283. Interesting how he says no, and then he hangs up the phone. Yeah, I know who that idiot is.
Ed was not 47.
Yeah, Ed is probably one of those guys that goes into your restaurant, right? And the food is fantastic. And then he'll go on the internet and say how horrible it was and try to get $5 off the meal. That's Ed, right?
Well, hopefully Ed ordered. I know Ed ordered the margarita pizza. I hope you liked it.
Yeah. Was he complaining?
No, you just said it had olives on it.
Oh,
the only way it
God
comes with
forbid.
olives is if you ask for olives.
I'm so shocked that a guy like that who has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to pizza probably doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to anything else either.
Good.
But yeah, I like John, though. John's a good call.
Yeah, who do we got? Who's
I like
next?
John. Well, I'm giving out the number. I'm giving people call in. I gave out the wrong number. That's probably
probably a
702.
problem.
Yeah, that's probably next. I'm going to be giving out like a 900 sex talk number. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We got Brett Raymer in studio. He is a reality TV, of course, longtime host of the show Tanked. I have to ask you this real quickly, and then you have to sing happy birthday to your son. I just feel like reality TV today is not reality TV. It's not real. Everything is fake.
Well, it's not that it's fake. It's not. Okay, so here's the thing.
John Tapper. What do you make of that show?
I mean,
Bar Rescue. I think he's a phony.
Everything's somewhat scripted because you have to have otherwise you never have a TV show. You can't just watch people without going all raw because it wouldn't have a concept to it. So what they do is they design the show to have a storyline and a concept, and the words aren't scripted out of my mouth, but let's say they gave me a fish tank and they say, take that fish tank and make it blue. However I made it blue was on me, but you got to have some sort of definitive direction.
I agree with you, but then that show Cheaters, right? That was all nonsense crap.
But that's, they started doing
crap. It's all scripted.
A lot of these shows started doing that.
MTV Real World. I thought year one and even the second, it was real stuff, right? You had a guy that was living there. Do you remember this back in the day? One guy was gay. One guy had AIDS, right? Another guy's a comic. They weren't getting along with each other. That was real. Like and people talk about that decades later. They talk about it. They said, no, that stuff was real. Like that guy Puck, do you remember him? And didn't like the guy who lived a different lifestyle. That was real. And now they get these supermodels and these good looking people and it's all scripted and they're all boring. Like, I didn't even like Jersey Shore. I just think they're just a bunch of dopes. I didn't find that show entertaining at all.
No, they just, like I said, it's all about entertainment these days. That's all they can do.
But your show was real. Yeah. You're going there, you're having conversations with celebrities. They're excited because you're building a tank for them. But then I remember the episode with Shaq where you were making fun of him because he had these little TVs in his house and here's this rich guy. But they were funny. Everything was off the cuff, right? Nothing there was scripted. It's real. And people know that, don't they? Yeah. They know when something is BS.
You can feel it. I mean, when you watch television, you can feel when some of it's scripted versus not scripted, and I just try to be as authentic and original as possible. That's all.
And that's why your show was so successful. Is there any chance that it's going to be back? Any chance?
Look, there's always a chance. There's always a chance. You never know.
You sound like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber.
There's always a chance. There's always a chance.
one in a million. There's a chance.
There's a chance.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like I always feel like, the show could come back.
Right.
Even though I'm not in the business anymore, but that could be rectified real simple. You know what I mean? There are companies. I actually went out to a couple companies to look to see about utilizing other facilities to maybe film a new show.
Oh, that'd be cool.
In another state.
And I flew out actually a couple months ago. So I got some things in the works that might come out. But like I said, you never know. You never know, brother.
And you love this city, right? You love living here.
I love Vegas. I love Vegas. It's getting a little crowded for me right now.
It is. I agree.
I'm starting to see, really feel like I've been here 20. I moved here in 94. So I've been here in almost 29 years.
You've been here 7-8 years longer than me.
And like just over the last
But you lived in New York though.
But I left New York because I liked living in Vegas because it wasn't so crowded.
It is getting the traffic. Like I'm used to just only traffic on the 15 during rush hour, but now you go there at noon, there's traffic.
And there's traffic on the streets. They used to be able to go somewhere. You could
the last 5 years, it's
I was just gonna say that the last 5 years, I've just seen it's just changed a lot. So I think I'll always stay here, but you never know. I might venture somewhere else to get another we'll back and forth. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot going on. I noticed you're sporting. Let's talk a little sports. I noticed you're sporting your UNLV shirt. I haven't seen you ever wear anything UNLV.
Super excited. Basketball team's doing well.
They are. They had a tough loss the other day against San Fran.
First one.
They're playing Southern Miss on Thursday. Good basketball team. Kevin Kruger's doing a good job.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's good for the city.
Yeah,
I'm real. The football. We went to a couple games this year.
We just had Coach Odom on. I'm so glad that Arroyo's gone. I think Odom and Petrino. I think they're going to be a great tandem. I'm excited for the UNLV football program. Marquez, who's sitting right here, played for UNLV football.
Awesome.
So I know we agree on that. He's excited about the new hires, as am I. And
what I think is really good for the city is that we have a new stadium.
Yeah,
we have new facility. We have big name coaches, which is going to bring in big name talent, right? When you have a no-name coach and you just have, off the cuff and, you don't really have.
Well, Odom's not a household guy, but Petrino is.
Of course.
Yeah.
But, Odom was around for a while. He coached big team, big school.
Absolutely.
I knew him as soon as they hired him. I knew where he was from, so my point is I think it's going to, as long as we win, it's going to put people in the stadium, and it's going to bring people here, which the city only benefits.
Agree. Vegas Golden Knights. I went to the game last night. They are really struggling at home. I don't understand why.
Well, Pietrangelo was out.
He played.
I'm saying
he's been back the last couple of games.
He was out for 9 games. The last, I don't know.
But the last couple of games, they're just not getting enough scoring.
Flat,
right. Exactly.
Flat.
That's exactly the word I would use. At home. Yeah. On the road, they're playing great.
When they, there's no sense of urgency. It doesn't seem like when they first started playing, the first couple months, they had like that excitement, the energy.
Last night is a microcosm so far of their season at home, where they're getting destroyed by the Sabres. They're down 3-0, and then in the third period, they wake up and they get like 20 shots in the third period, and they come back, and all of a sudden the score is 3-2. Where is that urgency to start the game?
Yeah, and they had that in the beginning of the season, and I just don't see that now. So we'll see what happens. We think we might go take my son for his birthday to the game tomorrow night.
Oh, that's cool. You'll enjoy that. That'll be fun. Who are they playing tomorrow night? I forgot.
Who they played? Do you remember? St. Louis? No.
Is it? No, the Blues are Friday.
No. I don't remember.
I don't even remember who they're playing tomorrow.
Somebody.
But
is it tomorrow?
The Rangers. Your Rangers came into town. And they kicked some ass.
The
Rangers came into town too a few weeks ago.
We went to that game.
Yeah, that was a good game. Turk got a chance to talk to Turk after the game. It was fun. It was fun. Who are they playing tomorrow?
I couldn't hear.
Your son knows what he's talking about. I don't. Clearly.
Coyotes.
The Coyotes. They're not very good. They're not very good. What do you think about the Raiders? Doesn't DeMaya come into your restaurant?
Stink.
What is up? What do you think of Josh McDaniels?
Stink. He stinks too.
He does, doesn't he? Carr needs to go, right?
I'm going to be honest with you. There's no. How do you say it? I don't feel like there's no players don't have passion there. I feel like it's like it's an individual run over there. Like they started out like I think the team was mad.
Do you think maybe it's because Joe Biden is running the team or Hunter Biden?
That's funny. I think and I'm going to be, here's my honest opinion. I think the team was better off where they were last year.
I want to see Mark Davis.
I think if they would have added Devontae, I think if they would have added, what's the receiver they have now? The Parker. What's the receiver they got?
You're talking about
Devontae.
What about Devontae?
If they would have added him with the old coaching staff, and I think the feeling
that would have been great.
I think the feeling of what they had as a team.
Agree.
It was more team.
Don't you think they should have kept all those guys like I do, Oli and Bisaccia? I thought they should have at least kept them for one more year after making the playoffs.
The thing is that tragedy like brings people together, right? October 1, what did it do for our city? It brought everyone together. Those guys had something tragic happen with John Gruden. They came together.
Couldn't agree with you more. Yep.
there's no way in heck that I would have taken that away. I would have added to it by bringing in Parker with that team, by bringing in, and you would have seen, I think, a different team. Here, you're getting in a new system, you're getting new coaches, and you know what? You're expecting everybody to win. So here's the call. So next year, Carr's out, Brady's in.
You really believe that?
Yeah, I believe it.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It was in today. It was in the paper today.
You think? I thought Aaron Rodgers might come out here.
I think Brady's coming.
You think Tom Brady comes here?
Tom Brady comes. Last hurrah.
Because him and Josh McDaniels.
He just, he bought a property right next to Mark Wahlberg.
I heard that.
He's coming.
Oh my goodness.
He's coming.
He's because he's being tortured out there, right?
He's coming.
Wow. Can you imagine that? But Brady's not these days. He's not. It's
okay though. But the thing is that
he's better than Carr right now.
It's going to bring hope. It's going to bring hope to the city.
Can you imagine if Tom? Oh my!
It's going to bring hope to the city. Everyone's going to come to Vegas.
You have inside information that's
no. I have no insight. I saw an article today. Here's the thing. I heard through the grapevine. Obviously, my girlfriend's a realtor, right? You know, she works for Berkshire Hathaway. I heard through the grapevine that Tom Brady bought property next to.
Yeah, but I thought the commissioner of the UFC, what's his name, Dana White. I thought he already tried to get Brady here, and it fell through because Gruden didn't want him.
He tried to get him here. Well, I mean, Gruden's not here anymore. Josh McDaniels here will pay for the Patriots.
This is very true.
You know, you got to start connecting the dots, right?
Okay, listen, Brett, it'd be an exciting move, but I'm not sure it's a very good move for the franchise because he's in his last. He doesn't look.
So you draft. You're going to finish terrible this year.
Right.
You're going to draft yourself a QB.
Okay.
You're going to bring in TB.
Okay.
Let him get you a year or two out of him.
Right.
Have your underling under neath him. Have him learn from Brady.
Get Gronkowski out of retirement. Is there any chance of that?
I mean, there's always a chance. You never know.
Gosh.
But all I'm saying is
there's no chance Derek Carr comes back next year.
But you just think about I think Derek Carr would be okay on another team.
I agree. A young team, like a Green Bay Packer team. That's why I thought Aaron Rodgers would come out here.
Yeah, I think he'd be okay.
Or Tampa Bay, he'd probably be okay because he's got some young guys out there and not a lot of pressure. He just doesn't fit here.
So maybe there's a swap.
God, that would be so awesome.
A quarterback swap.
Don't you think the Buccaneers would take him and deal Brady?
Depends on if they have money, what's involved. I mean, draft picks. You never know. But I just see the writing on the wall. Josh McDaniels, they tried to bring him here. He wanted to go back to the city of Tampa. I don't think Brady in his mind thought that he was going to get that divorce from his wife. I think mentally she wanted to stay over there. Now that he's a
single guy.
Now he's a single guy.
He can come out here to Vegas.
He's got the property. He's got Vegas, Josh McDaniels. I could see it happening now. That's just my opinion. We're calling it now. There might even be odds at the Hilton, at the Westgate.
There you go. You heard it from Brett Raymer. Tom Brady. The next time we just had the Patriots in town, by the way, and Bill Belichick, who is just the worst person ever in the world to interview, by the way. He mumbled, we made mistakes. But anyway, hey,
they got a defensive guy calling plays.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not a big Josh McDaniels guy. I don't like him, but not personally. I think he's fine. Personally, I think he's a great guy, but not a good head coach. Hey, your son is 16 years old today. We got to get him get him on the mic here. His son is okay. So first of all, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, son.
And I don't know, Brett, are you going to embarrass your son now and sing a little happy birthday to him?
I could sing happy birthday to him.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bryce. Happy birthday to you. Love you, son.
All right, there you go. Happy birthday. 16. Boy, it'd be really nice to be 16 years old again. I'll tell you. It'd be really nice to be 16. What is it like to be 16 years old? As a millennial in 2022.
I mean, I don't.
Oh, we got to get his mic on. There we go. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't do school, so I don't go to school actually. So I'm online.
Oh wow, you're my hero then. I wish I didn't do
online school.
I've been online for since the pandemic started.
Really?
It's pretty. I mean, it's not. School's not for everybody. So I'll probably put me there. But I stay home. I do school. I like it. I'm a technology kid, I guess. So
you're a tech guy.
I like tech. Yeah. So that's kind of one of my main things that I like doing.
I like it. You're going to be driving a car soon. You're 16 now.
Yeah. Hopefully.
How about
soon.
that? You're going to let him drive?
Yeah.
You're going to buy him a car?
Yeah. We got him something.
What kind of car do you want?
I'm a truck. So
he's going to get my truck. He's got a
Daewoo. Buy him a Daewoo.
He's got an ATV.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he's going to hopefully start racing his ATV.
Maybe have him drive a 1994 Hyundai Elantra. That was the car I drove for about 20 years.
1988 Oldsmobile 98 is what I drove.
Well, congratulations. you don't really say congratulations
No,
on
I'd
somebody's
say,
birthday. You just
no.
say it's not a
Well, you congratulate him. He made it to 16th.
Yeah, congratulations.
I
You
let him
made
make it to 16th.
Yeah. Well, I know Brett's a good dad. I know that, and you guys are awesome. Thank you, Brett, for always being a good friend and supporting what I do here. It means the world to me. And we have to hang out, man. You've been busy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're around this holiday. I'll be in and out, but yeah, we're gonna be Stallone's is gonna be open. I would let you.
I will stop by
We'll let
on
everybody
Christmas.
know that if they don't got anywhere to go this weekend, Stallone's is
will-
open Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
I will 100% go there on Christmas Day.
And if you wear your Dallas Cowboy, your Phillies jersey, you get a discount for Saturday night.
Even though Jews usually eat Chinese food on
They do.
Christmas,
They
I'm
do.
going to go Italian and I'm going to go to Stallone.
Italian's usually not open. We
That's
just happen to be Jews doing the Italian, so we are open.
That's right. That's true. Well, Brett, thank you so much for being here. Happy birthday, my
Hey,
man. And
thank you.
always good to see you. I appreciate you coming in. All right, folks, that's a wrap. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? No, worry no more. Saloon's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. Located at 467 East Colorado Ranch, just off of Road, half a mile east of South